Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 with Hangar Control. And today we are going to be talking about some new features that have just been implemented into the software that I think many of you are going to really like. There will be chapters down below in the description, so stick around. One app designed to do it all. Hangar Control brings everything together: control bindings, hardware configuration, mod and profile management, application launching, add-ons, config files, and more, all managed from a single application. Mods Hangar goes beyond just mods and add-ons. It manages profiles, config files, text files, backups, snapshots, and helps keep your community folders clean and organized. Application Hangar launches your entire sim stack with a single click. Your Stream Decks are fully controlled through the Hangar Control plugin, while all of your other Stream Deck plugins remain active and available. Built by a simmer for simmers, Hangar Control adds new features and hardware support every week based on community feedback. It's a one-time purchase with lifetime updates, no subscriptions. You can try it for free for 5 days with no restrictions at overkillsimulations.com. Just create an account, head to your account page, download the latest version, and get started. And if you're looking for in-depth Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft tutorials, check out my Patreon site. Links to Hangar Control and Patreon are down in the description below. All right, folks, as always, if you guys are interested in giving Hangar Control a shot, go to overkillsimulations.com, create an account first, hit the red account button in the top right, and then hit the red download Hangar Control to start a 5-day free unrestricted trial of the software, including all the tools, bells, and whistles that come along with it. If you guys are interested in just purchasing and supporting my work, then please make sure that you still create that account first. Otherwise, you will get an error at checkout. All right, let's jump right into what we've got today. So first off, a couple of you have creeped me the hell out, and I'm going to tell you why. There were two requests, feature requests that came through. One of them was actually a genuine feature request, and one of them was a how do I do this? And both of those items I was already working on this week and are being released in this version. So I guess you guys just had impeccable timing. So let's get right into the first one. One of the questions that came up was on this guy right here. This is the Cessna 208, so this is just an example of an aircraft that uses this behavior. Okay, now to really demonstrate what we have going on here, I'm going to show you guys something here, but first, let me actually disable all of my controls with inside of MSFS, because I really wish it would just let me set these to always do this. And I am going to look for a way with inside of Hangar Control to do this. But oops, that's not what I wanted. Cancel. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's a bit trickier than I thought because a lot of this stuff is stored in the cloud. But you guys can deactivate the hardware. It's really up to you how many pieces you have. Honestly, I find this easier than going through each one and creating a damn profile. And it's probably more or less just because I'm lazy, believe it or not. Yeah, these are all options. Let me close Aerosoft 1. I don't need that right now. And let's bring Hangar Control back up. So one of the tools that we're going to need is you want to be in dev mode to really understand how I'm doing this. And by the way, let me show you guys that real quick. To get into dev mode, you need to just simply go to Settings, Advanced Options, and toggle the dev mode on, save and back. As soon as you flip that switch, this bar up top will come up, and just hit save and back and resume. Now, what we're going to want is we're going to want the Tools and Behaviors windows. Now, you'll get two different windows, this one and this one. For all the purposes that I have ever had to use it, you can get rid of this guy. This is the one we want. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come right over here, and we're going to click on this axis right here, make it move, whatever, and you can do this with any button, any switch, whatever. But really, as long as you're clicked into the cockpit, because this window, you can drag it off screen. It doesn't have to stay inside the sim. So you want to make sure you click in the cockpit, okay? And you can see, watch the bar. See it turn blue? Now when I click in the cockpit, turn black. That's how you know you're where you belong. And then mouse over your item and hit left control and G, golf. Now, you can see the prop mixture move. We don't care about that. But what we're interested in is you can see engine lever throttle 1. And what we're more interested in is input events. And what we're even more interested in, to set this to an axis, you want this one right here, engine throttle 1 set. Okay, that's the kicker, is the set. So let's wire this up in Hangar Control so you guys can see what the new behavior is. So let me get Hangar Control back up here. Get over here, sir. And we're going to mouse this guy up here, go to control bindings, make sure you have an MSFS profile. Doesn't have to say 2024, you just want to make sure that the profile and the simulator type is set to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is the critical piece. It must say that. And then create your profile for Pacific aircraft. You can see we're under the 172, but it doesn't matter for what we're showing today. Now we're going to go to Bravo throttle quadrant. All right, so sorry for the cut there. I had bindings from a previous test that didn't want you guys to see because it spoils it. And I don't want anyone jumping ahead and they getting confused when it doesn't work. So anyways, so we're going to select our axis. We're going to hit add. This is the easiest way to do a B event, by the way. Go to SimConnect. We're going to take this guy right here like we were talking. Now, the one thing with a B event is you need to make sure it says B:. That is a requirement. Okay, and then we're just going to copy this guy, copy to clipboard, so you can just right click on any of those. And we're going to hit Control V, Victor. Use axis range. I'm just going to leave it like that. Hit OK, hit save. Come on over here. Let's get you out of the way. And let's move our axis. So what you can see here is that at the 0 point, we are in full reverse on the same axis. Okay? So obviously that may not be what you want. So I'm going to show you how to split this up, the same command, but in two different axes. That way you can use it the way you'd like. So we want this thing to be at idle. Now, you may have to play around with these values a little bit, so keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and make it so that way when this axis hits 0, this is at idle while still respecting the full range of the throttle axis. That way we can fine tune our engine prop and we don't have to set any kind of weird dead zone. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back into our axis tune. We're going to go to range. Now, you guys will be able to see this more, obviously easier when you are testing this on your own, but you have a custom output range. What this means is where does this axis at the 0 point start here in the sim? Okay? And this is where you can come over here. And this is where you will probably have to tweak this a little bit here and there. But we can see right around 32% is what we're interested in because that's right about the idle line. At the very least, you should maybe be in the beta range and you'll at least be out of reverse, right? So what we want to do here is if you pay attention, you have a couple different ranges to set. Negative 1683 to 16383, sorry. Those are going to be like your yoke. These are going to be like rudder pedals, anything that is on a centered axis, where when it is resting, your hands are off it, your feet are off it, whatever, it is in a centered position. A flight stick, another perfect example, it rests in the center. Okay? BVARs, which is what we are using right here. A BVAR uses values from -1 to 1. Okay? Or 0 to 1, depending on what type of axis it is using. For example, if we again take that down to 0 or take that down to full reverse, you can see the value is 0. But there may be some where at its lower point you will see -1. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to right about here, call it 32. Okay, and then your maximum range is 1. Now, how do we break that up? You still want to think in percentages. We are taking the percentage of the value of the number 1. Okay. So, what is that going to be? Well, that's actually pretty simple. You're going to be working with a decimal, okay? So, decimal 32 is what we want for 32% to a maximum value of 1, which would be 100%, right? So, we're going to hit OK. We're going to hit save. And now, throttle is at 0. We should be at idle. Going to max power. We're at max throttle. Okay, perfect way to do that. Now, let's go ahead and set up the reverse portion of it, because obviously you're going to want that too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to extend this window a little bit, and I'm just going to copy that value. Come here. Thank you. Control C. And we're going to add an axis. This is just the second axis over. Still going to keep SimConnect. Paste in there. Boom, there it is. Use axis range. Now here we're going to do the opposite. We want 0 up to 0.32. Save. Save. And now when we move this throttle, you can see we get all the way down through the full reverse range. And you can invert that if you want. Like, this is actually kind of a handy way when you think about it. So you're going to be flying along. The throttle's up in the forward position. You're flying. You come in for a landing. You're coming in. You're lowering your power. Wheels down. Boom. You're in idle. Now you're ready for that reverse prop. Just reach up, grab that top handle, and bring it down. You're in full reverse. Bring it back up. You're back in idle. And then you're ready to navigate your taxiways, etc. It's actually kind of a fun way to do it. I got to tell you. It's kind of fun reaching up and grabbing that, pulling it down. Okay? So, anyway, that is how you can split a single value amongst multiple axes, so that way you can further customize how you want the axis to behave. This is also really handy if you're doing something like afterburners or something like that. Now, for DCS World users, don't get too excited yet. For DCS World, it's a whole different ballgame, but I am working on that as we speak. That is the next implementation. Okay, but again, completely separate methods of how to handle that, so it requires two completely separate builds, and I just started this on Tuesday. Okay, so there we go. So that is how we split up a single value amongst multiple axes, so that way you guys can tweak your axis the way you'd like. All right, so the next new feature that has made its way to Hangar Control this week, this is the one where someone just asked, how do I do this? That, funny enough, came up Monday night, is where I started this one, is how to, if your, let's say your feet, we're going to use our rudder pedals as an example. Let's say your feet are not on the pedal, okay, but they are resting like this. Okay, so you're not on the pedal, you're not touching it, but yet the sim thinks there's an input. You've calibrated, you've done everything, and it's off. Okay, there are some older equipment, there's sometimes that yokes, there's sometimes things that will weigh them down. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios in which could cause this slight behavior. Now, this is very dramatic. I want to make that very clear. Okay, but let's say that that's happening. Okay, how you can fix that now is we're going to go into our rudder pedals. We're going to go to our bind. We're going to go to our axis tune. And what you have now is the neutral position. Again, this is going to be, what I'm going to be demonstrating is going to show you the opposite behavior. Obviously, my rudder pedals, they are in the centered position. My feet are off of them. And inside the sim, you can see they're behaving exactly like they should. Okay, so this is a little hard. I need you guys to use your imagination and picture as if these were cantered one way or the other. So let's say that it's got a slight kick up to the right, all right? My feet are off it, and they're sitting kind of like this. There's a slight right input that I need to take out. Okay, so what I can do now is I can come up here to this slider, and you can either type in the box, or you can simply grab this, and let's say we just need to move it, I don't know, 5 degrees, 6 degrees. That's extreme, I would imagine. At that point, you probably have some hardware issues. But if that's the case, you hit OK, and now you can see the rudder pedals have now corrected. But the axis itself is in the centered position. Okay, it doesn't change where the sim thinks your physical axis is, which means you're still going to get that maximum input no matter what. It's just basically sending an immediate resting point to compensate for any kind of hardware discrepancies between hardware and simulator. Okay, so this is a nice way. Again, anything over 3 or 4 degrees at most, you probably have something wrong with your hardware, maybe a sensor that needs to be cleaned, a bad calibration, something to that effect that's causing that kind of behavior, because it shouldn't be much more than a degree or two if you're having to correct it. But there are some where you might have to add a slight 1 or 2 degree tweak to keep it flying straight. So that way when your hands are off it, when your feet are off the controls, whatever it may be, you're getting that true centered behavior inside of the aircraft. So a real quick demo there, nothing too crazy about that, but I did want to show you guys that that was now available. That was another request that came up. So now you have that fine tuning of axis output to your simulator to make sure that centered means centered. Okay, so the next piece here is custom Hangar Control variables. Basically variables that you can make yourself and set the values of based on keybinds in operation, therefore changing what a button does and does not do based on the state of that variable. We're also going to be able to set a minimum and maximum value of that variable and then allow it or force it in a position where it will recycle or essentially start the count all over again, allowing you to take one knob, one encoder, one button, whatever, and do many, many things with it. Let us begin. So what we're going to be doing today, first I'm going to show you what we already have in place, because this is also something else that seems to come up quite a bit still as far as functionality. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the encoder on the Bravo to respect the heading mode, or excuse me, autopilot mode, based on wherever the highlight is. We're going to use the heading and altitude as our what's the word I'm looking for? Examples. Goodness gracious, I can't talk. So to do so, we're going to go into the clockwise mode on the encoder. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to come down and we're going to go to browse. And then we know that we are in heading mode at the moment. And so I'm going to do heading bug increase. I'm going to hit OK. All right. And we're going to hit save. Now, when I turn it, you can see the heading bug turning. But if I move that, it's not going to do anything because there's no condition to it. So the first step to showing this feature is to once again revisit how to create a condition. So let's come back in here. We're going to come back in here. We're going to clear the value. We're going to come up to the top, create conditional operation. First, what is the condition? What must happen in order for me to do XYZ? The condition that must happen currently is a button state. This will solve a lot of problems for many folks and may prevent you from having to use the HC variable, which we'll get into next. So the button state, we simply select button state. Now, what device do you want me to watch? I want you to watch the Honeycomb Bravo. Okay, what button do you want me to pay attention to? Well, let's go to pick and find out. Now, 19 is my answer, but I'm going to show you how I'm determining that. I'm going to move the encoder, which is this one here on the left, which determines altitude, vertical speed, heading. Right now we're on heading, and I'm willing to bet it's about to switch to 7 or to 18 when I go down to course. Go down to course, 18, 19 is the heading, 20 is vertical speed, and 21 is altitude. Okay, so we want 19. I want you to watch 19. Okay, when 19 is held. Okay, what do you want me to do when the button state on the Bravo throttle quadrant, button 19, is held down? What do you want me to do? I want you to do a heading bug increase, because we're under the clockwise operation, right? So we're going to come down here. We're going to go to Sim Connect, go to browse again. There's the heading bug increase. All right. And when it's not held, I want you don't do anything. Just leave it alone. So we're going to hit save. Now I'm actually just going to grab this real quick because I'm going to copy that and use it again. So now we're going to hit save. Okay. And so I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go into the counterclockwise. We're going to create that condition one more time. Button state, Bravo. We know it is 19. What do I want you to do? A Sim Connect event. Only this time we want decrease because we're on the counterclockwise side. So now hit save and save again. Notice we're on the heading. We have our encoder bound. If I turn it right, there's the heading. If I turn it left, there's the heading going the other direction. But if I change this, say to vertical speed, so button 19 is no longer being held, and I turn clockwise, nothing happens. I'm turning counterclockwise, nothing is happening. So now, let's go all the way up to altitude and set that binding one more time. So now, we're going to edit, or excuse me, we're going to create another conditional operation. We don't want to edit, I'm sorry. Button state again. Bravo. What button are we watching this time? 21. 19, 20, 21 for altitude. What do you want me to do? Sim Connect. Browse, and I believe it is alt underscore var. That is it right there. Increase, autopilot, altitude target, variable increase. Set that. I'm going to copy that so that way we can bind the counterclockwise side. So now we have two values here. Hit save, go to counterclockwise, create conditional, button state, Bravo, 21, Sim Connect, paste, change to decrease. save, save. And now, once again, watch our altitude target. Okay. Go to a heading. Back to altitude. Okay, so that's how you set it up using a button state, which is already very powerful. But let's say you want to do something a bit different. Okay? Now I'm going to show you the same process. I'm going to use the same thing as an example here, but I'm going to show you how to do it if you didn't have, for example, the encoder mode, if you didn't have a button state that you could use, but you've got an encoder, but only a button. Okay? So I'm going to clear these bindings. Let's go ahead and hit delete, 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 save, delete, delete, save, and let's rinse and repeat, sort of. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and we're just going to use the heading button. This is just as an example, but here's the process. We're going to go to heading, and we're going to go to change action from SimConnect, go all the way to the bottom to HC variable. Now we're going to manage. Now you can see I've already got one. We're going to delete that. Oop. We're going to go to add, and let's call this autopilot mode. Okay? So right now the default is 0, and it's all we need for a minute. We're just going to click that, and we're going to hit close. There it is. Okay? Now, what do we want this button to do? We're going to increment by 1, and we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to set a value, by the way. You can see this is optional. That's all depending on what creativity you guys have. But I want to go from a maximum of, or a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 5. Now, here's how this is going to work. If I come back down and hit manage, you can see right now it's at 0 because we haven't executed this action yet. So now I'm going to press the button once and I hit refresh. You can see it's at 1 now. Press it again. Hit refresh. It's at 2. 4, 5, and then press it again. Back to 1. Okay? All right. So we have that. So now let's use that to our advantage. So we're going to hit save here. Let's come back to our encoder. We're going to create that conditional operation. We're going to use the HC variable. You're going to browse for the variable. Autopilot mode. Shouldn't be showing that, but I'll work with that. Hit select. Now, you can use equals, we can use greater than, you can use however you want to do this, depending on, again, what you are doing. In our case, we want equals. 1. Okay, actually, let's do 3. 3 is going to be our heading bug. SimConnect. And it should be heading bug increase. Save. Okay? And let's go ahead and just add the next one so you guys can see it in action. We're going to create that second conditional operation. HC variable. We're going to browse for the variable. It's our autopilot mode. And we want this one to be 5. It's going to be SimConnect. And this is, what did I say? It's autopilot. Autopilot, alt, var, var, increase. Okay? And we're going to hit save. And we're going to hit save again. So, as you guys remember, the last time we pushed that button, we were on 1. So if I turn that encoder, notice nothing is happening. I am turning it. I'm going to push the button again. This should be on 2, which would be course. So I just pushed the heading. Nothing's happening. Now I'm going to push it again, which will set the value to 3. And now we should see the heading bug go clockwise. Remember, we only bound the clockwise. So push it again. There's our heading bug. Now, if we push it again, we should go to 4, which in our example here would be represented by vertical speed. So there it is. We should be on number 4. Nothing should happen. So here I am turning the encoder. Nothing's happening. Now I press it again, and we should get to 5, in which case the altitude target should increase. So there's 5, and there's your altitude value increasing. So that is a real neat way to set up custom values. So now you have the option to create your own variables that you can manipulate however you want via an encoder, a button press. You can do button press, short press, long press. All those things can change the variables. You can really have a lot of fun with it. Now, this is an initial release. I did a few different kind of tests, a few different kind of builds, and they all worked. But of course, if you guys run into any issues, as this is a new feature and that can be potentially a very powerful feature, please be sure to join the Discord. Okay, a link to the Discord channel is in all of my videos down in the description below. Give me your feedback. This has literally been built because somebody asked me for it. Okay, and I went, oh, wow, I never thought of it. Now, my first question, to give you guys an example, was I had asked him, he said, hey, I really want this. And my first thought was the first step I showed you, the button state, right? It's like, well, that covers most of it. But then, so I asked him for a use case, and he gave me a valuable use case. Well, here's where I need to use this feature. And I went, that's a good feature. And because the button state structure was already there, it didn't take much for me to implement this next feature. It only took me a couple of days. Because the foundation for it was already there. So a lot of this stuff is already almost where you guys may want it to be. So please give me that feedback. I want to know what you guys are thinking. I want to know what you're feeling. I want this software to be as powerful as physically possible. All right. Now, to you DCS World users, that particular feature should work perfectly fine. Again, that is a custom variable. So same thing with X-Plane. That should work perfectly fine. You should be able to do whatever you want because it has no bearing on the simulator. Those custom HC variables have zero bearing on the sim. It is strictly you are the one who creates the value. You are the one who creates the variable. You tell the software what to do with it. Okay? So you guys should be able to have a lot of fun with that too as well. As always, folks, I hope you guys are super excited for these features. There's definitely a lot more coming. DCS World users, I do want you to know that you guys are going to get a lot of love in the next patch, especially with the Stream Deck. We're going to be doing some work on the Stream Deck to make it more compatible with DCS World. So stay tuned for more on that. I know that's a big requested thing. Lots more coming. Overkillsimulations.com if you want to pick up your copy of Hangar Control or give it a run and see what you think. As always, folks, stay safe and healthy. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you in the next one.